All right. First of all, can you all hear me all right? Good, okay. How many of you have seen me speak before? Oh, okay. So you know I get a little hyper, I get a little loud. When we start getting into the packets, I get a little excited. I have something really exciting to show you today that I have not shown anyone at conferences yet. So I'm going to be showing you today just a little bit of the new version of Wireshark that's in development. So I'm going to show you how our world of looking at network traffic and managing communications is going to be changing with this new version. There will be some significant changes taking place, and I would like you to hit the ground running and know exactly how to use the new version when it comes out. So during the presentation, I will be swapping over to the development version. I'll let you know where you can get that development version, and I'll just show you some of the things you can do. My name is Laura Chappell. I'm the presenter in this session. Sorry. God. Oh, there's all that stuff you're supposed to do at the beginning. I live, eat, and breathe at the packet level. Rarely does a day go by that I'm not listening in to traffic. It could be at a Starbucks, or it could be on a customer's network, or something like that. And in this presentation, I'm going to go through a list of skills that everyone in the IT industry should possess. There is no reason not to have these skills. They are not very difficult to acquire. It is the idea of taking your car in and it's not behaving properly, it's knocking and pinging and sputtering and things like that. You take it into a car mechanic, and if they've never looked under the hood, you're not going to trust that person in fixing your car, I hope. So it is our responsibility in the IT industry to understand what's happening underneath the hood. You can go and you can get all the fancy products that you want and put them on your network and find out that they have absolutely no effect whatsoever on the performance unless you know exactly what the problem is to start with. So last night I had a conversation with a couple of guys sitting over at the bar. Are they in here? Dan and James? Ooh, I'm going to find you if you're not. All right. We were talking, it was very interesting to talk with them about some of the problems happening on their networks and what they were going to throw onto the network to solve the problem. They would have wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars. They would have thrown a solution onto their network that would have had no effect whatsoever because they didn't understand what was happening at the TCP/IP level, what was going on, why their performance was lousy. So this session is going to go through these top 10 skills that you need to master. I'm also going to give you some heads up on some really hot tools that are out there today. We've had some shifts in the industry, in some of the tools and the popularity and what's been happening with development. So I'm going to talk with you about some of these tools. And then I'm going to go through and work with Wireshark with you and go through and show you just some of these items, some of these skills that you need to master and how we can easily detect where these different problems are. Right now, because there was a network cable sitting up here, I decided to go ahead and plug into the network. Typically what they do is they have a speaker network that's separate from the conference network. Sometimes they let us sit right on the conference network, which is fascinating to see what goes on. I'm going to assume that above me I have a switch because right now I'm only able to see broadcast, multicast, traffic tour from my system. And if there were any packets going to an unknown hardware address, I would be able to see them. Oh, it is so tempting. It is so tempting to spit out some packets that would cause systems problems. But I'm not a hacker. I'm a protocol analyst. Okay? But you have to know both sides of the coin in order to protect a network. So we're going to be talking a bit about troubleshooting in here. We'll be talking a bit about security. The version of Wireshark that I'm showing you here on the screen is 1.6.5. You may be aware that we came out with 1.6.6, which lasted a whole 1 week. And then 1.6.7 came out. I'm not running 1.6.7 because I think 1.6.7 has got a few problems. So I have back revved to 1.6.5 until some of the bugs in 1.6.7 are fixed. We will see whether those bugs will be fixed before the next big version of Wireshark comes out. But basically what I've got Wireshark set up to do right now is capture into file sets. And that's one of the things you need to know how to do. How do you capture massive amounts of traffic on your network when you're looking at what the problems might be? And how do you deal with massive amounts of traffic? Right here, I'm capturing into a number of 100 meg files. It's automatically capturing and separating my traffic into these 100 meg files. That's my maximum for capturing traffic and working with traffic in the current version of Wireshark. In the next version of Wireshark, I have been working with 500 meg files. And so far, so good. We'll see. I may crash one of the versions of Wireshark in here. I don't know. I always am doing things to Wireshark to try to push it, and we'll see if it crashes. All right, I'll go ahead and stop this capture running in the background. And I do have some notes that I'm going to add to the session as we go through. Because, you know, when you do your slides, you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I live in the world of demo. I'd much rather show you how to do some of these things than just have a slide set. So my slides are kind of short on this session. I think I have 3 slides. This is one of them. The LoRa's Lab Kit. If you haven't downloaded the LoRa's Lab Kit, I would recommend you do that. It's a free lab kit. It's, in essence, it's an ISO image, so you can burn your own DVD. And there are hundreds of traffic files in there. Excuse me, oh my gosh. There are hundreds of traffic files in there, and there is a video on there, a 1-hour case study of troubleshooting a network problem, and it is one of the most common network problems that I'm seeing today, especially in the Windows environment. Especially in the Windows environment. If you were fully a Linux shop, I doubt this would be at the top of the list of issues. You would definitely have some issues, I'm sure, with the TCP/IP stack, but it probably would not be the same one as this case study. And I want you to go through that video, and there are the trace files. You will see that I have taken traffic at multiple points on the network before we went through a natting firewall and after, and I'm comparing what happened with that natting firewall. Right now, we have a common problem in this industry as far as performance. Infrastructure devices. Okay. Right now, the infrastructure devices are hobbling networks. I cannot tell you, but how many times I go out to customers and they say, you know, we're having this problem, the network's not performing well, all these things. And right now, about 99% of the time, it's an infrastructure device that's causing the issues. So in that video, it is an infrastructure issue that's taking place, but if you didn't understand TCP/IP, you would have blamed the client. You would have said the client is a problem. You would have worked on reconfiguring that client, trying to find out how to fix the issue with the client, and it's not the client. So it's a great video to work with. In addition, the profile that I made for Wireshark is on that video. So you can take my troubleshooting profile, the customized version of Wireshark, and download it and work with it. So you can go get it at lcuportal2.com, and the artwork for the cover is also there. All right, so here are the 10 skills to master, assuming that your job is to troubleshoot, secure, and optimize a network. Those are the 3 words. Troubleshoot, optimize, and secure a network. You cannot say that you focus on troubleshooting and you don't do security. There is no such thing. When you sit there and you look at traffic on the network and you look at this weird behavior and this machine is just spewing out all this garbage, how do you know it's not malware? How do you know it's not a misconfiguration? You don't. You got to sit there and go through the packets and look at what's going on, what's it saying, who's it talking to, and then you got to differentiate the 2. I've had jobs where I've gone out where they've said, we believe we are infected, we've got all this traffic on the network, and it turns out it is not an infection, it is a misconfiguration, and you've got devices going out and trying to look for a service that's not there anymore. All right, so skills to master. Number 1, you must know how to capture network traffic. I'm going to take you into that in just a moment. I'm going to show you how to use file sets. You must understand the value of measuring round-trip latency times. To get from here to Australia and back is a nightmare. Not only on a plane, it takes forever, but also at packet level. So you've got to know how to measure your round-trip latency times, and you've got to know what a decent latency time is. If you saw that it takes you 120 milliseconds to get from your machine to the server you're logging into and back, is that good? Is that bad? Depends. Where is that server? How many interconnecting links do you have to go to get to that server? You better start baselining now. You better start taking your traffic now to know what's normal before all hell breaks loose. All right, identifying whether we have client or server issues. Okay, I have a really fun trace file I'm going to open up. Is there anyone here from Facebook? Okay, so you know that if I ask you, is there anybody here from this company? Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. You're just going to be a target here. So I have a great trace file of actually just bringing up the Facebook page, just the main Facebook page. This company goes out there. They have their Facebook presence. They're always updating what they look like to the rest of the world on Facebook. And it is a nightmare just loading the basic page. So I'm going to take you into that because we're going to see where we can point the finger at who's having a little issue there. Anybody here from Apple? Yeah, okay. I'll talk about Apple in just a bit. I love my iPhone. I love my iPad. I hate their TCP/IP stack. Absolutely detest it. It is a piece of crap in this industry. It is blah, 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 blah. And then it is so stuck up. My phone sits there and goes, you know, I am an iPhone, and I'd like a DHCP lease time longer than anybody else. The DHCP server's like, what are you talking about? Welcome to the network. We love to have you, but we only give out leases for 3 days. But I am an iPhone. Anyway. All right, you should know how to tell who the top talkers are and the top conversations. You should be able to know which applications are running. You should be able to spot immediately when there is something wrong with the applications running on your network, when you possibly have malware or something like that trying to sneak through your network. I will show you what that looks like in just a moment. Distinguish protocol from application issues. You should be able to tell when TCP is the problem or when the app is the issue. And you should be able to tell when you have incompatibilities between clients and servers very easily. Path queuing is a big thing right now. Path queuing is huge, where we sit there and we're doing all this wonderful cloud-based stuff. And now we are not only dependent upon the infrastructure that we've put in place, but the infrastructure getting us to the cloud server that we're keeping all of our stuff up on that we want to have access to in a timely manner. So we should understand that along that path, there are going to be devices that are queuing. In some cases, these devices on the internet, it is transparent to you. They are mucking around with some of the bits in the TCP header and the IP header to say that it is doing explicit congestion notification inside the internet. Packets come to us and explicit congestion notification is off. We can't tell that there was a congestion issue. But I will show you what it looks like when traffic has been queued along a path. How can we tell? It is this very distinct pattern in communications. And you should know how to properly document your findings. Now, this is where Wireshark 1.8 is going to be so valuable to us. It's going to change the way that we deal with looking at what's happening on our networks and finding problems and then reporting those problems. All right. So, as far as tools of the trade go, Wireshark right now is considered the most successful open source product in the world. It used to average around 500,000 downloads a month. It is way above that now. In preparation for Wireshark 1.8, it will probably hit 6 million downloads within the first week when 1.8 comes out. We have companies all over the industry that have now standardized on Wireshark for doing their packet level analysis for picking up traffic. It is open source. It is free. It will remain open source forever. The development right now is extremely strong. Things are changing so fast. This next revision is one of the largest changes we've ever had. It is one of the biggest changes, and it's just phenomenal. That's why I want to show it to you. All right, you should know how to do the command line tools as well. T-Shark is one of the command line tools, command line capture, things like that. Edit cap, in case you have to split up trace files. If you're not using or familiar with Nmap or ZenMap, you should be. And you can go out to nmap.org and you can go get the first half of Fyodor's book on Nmap. Nmap is a tool that we use to do reconnaissance against a target system. We may do it against our own systems just to see what people can learn about us. It's probably better that you learn first what everybody else can find out about you. So Nmap is also a free tool. They are just now getting ready for the Summer of Code at Google to go in. And Summer of Code is a huge project and makes tremendous strides for Nmap. Last time they did Summer of Code, we came out with ZenMap. We saw all of a sudden this graphical view of a path. All right, NetScan Tools Pro is a product I've been using for years and years and years and years. It is the first line of defense from the Department of Justice when they're doing a research on a target. There are so many to, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I should have put this, I should have put this, I should have put this. Once you start talking about the tools, I'm sure you guys have got a bunch too. All right, Packet Builder is a free tool that I use from a company called Colasoft. And that is the tool that I use to build malicious packets to send to targets for legitimate purposes, okay? For example, I was doing a class last week. I've been traveling nonstop doing internal classes at different companies for Wireshark, getting everybody up to speed on what's coming up. But one of the things I like to do is I like to build a packet that, for whatever reason, a lot of vendors in the industry seem to have a problem with it. It is an illogical IP packet. It is one that says, do not fragment this packet. Oh, but there's more to come. It is completely illogical. And you spew that at a target system, and you see this wonderful vendor's product sitting on that target system, and the thing just dies. Okay? So Packet Builder is the tool that I use to build some of those packets. I can take an entire trace file. In fact, you have to be a little careful of this. When you download the LoRa's Lab Kit, there is a trace file on it, and I'm just going to put it in my little notes file here. Warning. Because a couple people have done this. You know, it's kind of like one of those things like, well, that's really weird. I downloaded that thing, and there was a gun in it, and so I took the gun, and I loaded it, and I shot myself in the foot. Why would you put a gun in the LoRa's Lab Kit? Well, because I want you to see all the malicious traffic. So there is a trace file in the LoRa's Lab Kit called sec-macoff.pcap. Do not use Packet Builder and send that out on your network. You will kill your network. There isn't a network today that survives this issue. In fact, I was at a military installation last week, and they dared me. It was one of those things like, come on, come on, come on. Oh, we're protected from the rest of the network. Don't worry about that. We're just in a little switched environment. It'll be great. Well, we trashed the switch, and it turned out that that switch was connected to another switch that got trashed, and another switch that got trashed. So, but Macoff is very effective still, so be careful of that one when you work with it. Okay, miscellaneous command line tools. Look, I could add so many other tools in here. I'm going to just tell you, I know that you guys all probably know the whole, sysinternals tool set. Yes, we love sysinternals. I live on sysinternals. Particularly these days, I use the strings tool in sysinternals for security. There is Neo hex editor. Somebody sends me a trace file, and I want to rebuild the communications in the trace file. I want to rebuild that file that was transferred. If any commands were sitting in that file, I have to strip those out, and I use Neo hex editor. Here's a little bit of information for you. This version of Wireshark that I have, this 1.6.5 version, it does SMB reassembly now. That means I sit on your Microsoft network, and you log into the server, you do all your authentication, you do all these wonderful things to make sure that, it's you that's accessing that file and nobody else, and I'm listening in on the cable. You go and you transfer that file. If that file goes across the wire unencrypted, I have a copy of it on my system now. Okay. So that was just put into the 1.6 version of Wireshark. It's one of the newer pieces that was added. So if your traffic is really important, you better be encrypting it, okay? Because it takes nothing. Anybody in the world can get Wireshark. So, all right, other tools. Here you go. Have you heard of Suricata? Okay, first of all, I do not work for Microsoft. The opinions expressed herein are those of the presenter and do not affect Microsoft or reflect anything that Microsoft would say. Suricata is going to be the replacement for Snort. Okay? Snort's lifespan is not very far in the future. And Suricata is going to be the replacement. Suricata is an open source project. The rules are wide open for the world. And if you would like to get Suricata and all the rules for free, as well as all the Snort rules for free that you want, it's emergingthreats.net. This site had been moved around under Bleeding Pig and Bleeding Snort and all these things, and finally it's got backing from the DoD, and now it's a legitimate group, and we get our rules from them right away. So if you are not familiar with Suricata, you should become familiar with Suricata. The other thing that shocks me in this industry is how few IT professionals know how to set the path at the command prompt. Whoa! I just did this class 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I said was, make sure that Wireshark is in the program, the Wireshark program file directory is in the path, so you can run the command line tools from any directory. It took me a half an hour to get everybody's everybody's paths up to speed. The basic stuff, I mean, there's reasons why we still do batch files and we still do command line definitions and substitution of drive letters and things like that. For an IT professional not to know how to add a program file to a path is not a good thing. But I'm old, I have gray hair, we had to learn these things when DOS was new. Ooh. All right, this is another one. For IT professionals right now, I would highly recommend that you become an expert at regular expressions. Yes, regex is hot. I can sit there and take 1 billion packets, and using regular expressions, I can wheedle my way through to find the packet that has the join command embedded in it in upper and lower case over a non-standard port number, looking for a specific channel from a specific attack group, literally, you can find the moment your mother-in-law touches down at the airport using regular expressions. You can find anything. It helps us find the needle in the haystack. If you are not familiar with regular expressions, you can go out and you can just search for regular expressions, but there is a tool out there that I recommend, which is Regex Buddy, and that it has another tool called Regex Magic. If you are in the world of Snort and things like that, and Nmap, you will see that we use regular expressions for all sorts of things like application mapping, rules, and our Snort rules. So much better to put in a regular expression rule. Knowing that stuff, doesn't matter what product you're going to be working on, you're going to be way ahead of other people to understand how regular expressions works. I'm going to use regular expressions to find something that's hidden in traffic in just a moment, because I'm just going to do it for you so you can see really easily. You want to find somebody trying to hide a command by doing upper and lower case or all this other garbage. Whatever, we can find it by using regular expressions in Wireshark. All right. So now I want to get into Wireshark. I want to go ahead and start capturing some traffic. I want to show you what it looks like. I want to show you how to detect high latency times and who to blame when we see that. What the major problems are, whether it's an app problem or a client problem. I have a list here, those of you that want to take a picture with your phones. I have so few slides. I don't know that you want to go download the slide set or something like that. Just take a picture. That's the end of my slide set. Okay. All right. So I'm going to begin by capturing some traffic right here on this network. Now, this version of Wireshark that you see on my screen, this is 1.6.5. Okay, so I'm going to begin with 1.6.5 doing this kind of stuff. The first thing I'm going to do in Wireshark is I'm going to see which one of my interfaces are active on capturing this traffic. And I can see by just opening up the interfaces window, it's the very first button on the icon toolbar, that my very first interface is the one that I'm actually seeing some traffic on. Now, instead of saying I just want to start, I'm going to go over into the options area, and I'm going to capture to a set of files. So there's this little box here where it says use multiple files, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to say that I want to save these files. These are the ones I was just saving, and I'm going to save these, and I'm going to call the file set my file set 2401, which is the room number, .pcap. Now, right now, I am capturing and using PCAP format. The future is PCAP-NG. That is the future. We will no longer be using PCAP formats when we go over to the new version of Wireshark. The industry is shifting over because they're being forced to by Wireshark, because we can do so much more with PCAP-NG format. So I'll be working in PCAP-NG in just a moment. I'll just stay with what we have now with the stable version of Wireshark. All right, so I've just said that I want to save in that format, and then I have to toggle back to the window because Wireshark does not have a parent-child relationship to the windows here. I'm going to say I want to use multiple files. I want the next file to be every, let's say, 10 megabytes or 5 minutes, whichever one of those conditions comes first, and then stop capturing after 100 files. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell it to start capturing. This is the traffic that's running in the background right now. So I'm seeing that we have a lot of systems out there that are IPv6. We've got dual stack systems sitting out there. I know that we've got some folks with Dropbox. I see a lot of little Dropbox. Hi, help, help, I'm all alone. I must have friends. I can see that the switch right above us is not configured properly, because I'm getting some spanning tree traffic down my client port, and I should not get spanning tree down my client port. It has nothing to do with me. So I know the switch above me is not set up properly. I can also see that I have, there's a problem oh, here we go. Oh. All right, we've got Apple devices. We've got some Apple devices that are physically connected into this, whether it's coming through the wireless network and being forwarded on. But every once in a while, you'll see somebody sit there and go, hey, I have a question. ARP, can you tell me who you are? I'm 0.0.0.0. It's like, you're nobody? An iPhone would never say it's nobody. But they do. They sit there and they start doing these ARPing, these weird behavioral issues that they have. And Apple is a customer of mine, you know, and they didn't used to be, but they went to a conference and I was making fun of them and they asked me to come in and make fun of them at the campus, and they don't have a sense of humor at all. You know, I was laughing. I was going, oh, isn't this funny? Look at this snotty behavior. And they're all just like, Anyway, all right, so I can see just by looking at the traffic right now, we have got a lot of overhead that we do not need on this network right here. This network could be cleaned up. We've got a lot of systems coming up under their default settings. We have got all this SSDP stuff. There's Dropbox, just went by just a moment ago. We've got IPv6. We've got all this discovery routines going on constantly in here. So we know that there's all this stuff happening in the background. If you look in this screen, and let me bring this up just a little bit. I'm going to bring this up, because in a moment I'm going to put up another version of Wireshark side by side. All right. I don't want to go quite that large. Let me get my status bar. If you have not paid attention to the status bar in Wireshark, you need to pay attention to it. It's down at the bottom of the Wireshark window. And right now, I am working in a profile that I've created called MMS 2012. Every once in a while, you'll see this orange packet go by. Anytime an orange packet goes by, if it's like a standard orange color and it goes by, that means there's a performance problem. Anytime there's a deep orangish red packet that goes by, that means there's a security issue. So I've added those coloring rules into Wireshark to scream bloody murder when problems occur. So that is done through the coloring. So here's the colors button up there, and those are my rules that I added for coloring for Wireshark. In essence, I want to detect anytime anybody does HTTP and downloads a zip or an exe file, and I'm using regular expressions for that. I'll do that again for you in a moment. And then I wanted to know when there are window size issues on the network. Okay. How many of you are still running XP? And it's okay to admit it. How many of you are still running XP? Okay, keep your hands up. Okay. How many of you have enabled 1323 in the registry? Oh, God. Okay. All right. If you still have XP boxes out there, this is what I want you to do. You are going to bring an XP box up to the performance level of a Windows 7 box for file transfer. Okay. Right now, you know, XP is kind of a two-legged dog. And there is, when Service Pack 2 came out, Okay, when Service Pack 2 came out, you suddenly had the ability of altering the behavior of XP to bring it up to date with something called window scaling. Okay? Window scaling is covered in RFC 1323. So RFC 1323. You will see that this registry setting uses this RFC 1323 in the name. The registry entry does not exist. Just because you went to Service Pack 2 did not mean that it was suddenly set up and running for you. You have to go and actually add the registry entry. Not only that, but you also have to change the receive window size. If you don't do both of those, nothing will change in performance. So you must also change the receive window setting. I want you just to go out, those of you that have XP boxes, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go out, and the Laura's Lab Kit is a 1.9 gig file or something like that. I don't know what. Excuse me. From your XP box, I want you to start capturing Wireshark traffic in the background, do file sets like I'm doing here, and then go and download the Laura's Lab Kit. You can go to lunch. You could probably go to dinner. You might be able to go on vacation. And then when you get back and it's downloaded, I want you then to go and update the registry in your XP box to include this RFC 1323 window scaling capability. Just do a search on the internet, Windows XP 1323, and you will see all the steps listed out for you of exactly what you need to do this. You go in and you change these registry entries, clear out your cache from your browser, then go back and download the lab kit. You better have a fast soda machine close by. It is the difference between painting a screen and having it pop up in front of you. It is one of the few times where users will actually sit there and go, oh my gosh, the network seems to be running pretty well today. You know, all they do is complain and whine and cry and stuff. And it's one of the few changes you can make to a network today where the users will actually feel the effect. So those of you in the XP environment, don't throw money at this issue of XP boxes seeming like they're slow. They will be slower than Windows 7, and the main reason is they've got this window issue, and I'll show you that in just a moment. All right, so I'm going and I'm capturing all this traffic in the background, blah, 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 blah. It's capturing to file sets, and on the bottom of this window, it's telling me which file I'm on in this set. So if I can get way to the right, I am on file number 2. I'm doing these 100 meg files, so they're big files. That's how you capture to file sets, how you work with a lot of traffic. If you are capturing wireless traffic, in the Windows environment, you need to have an ARP cap adapter. Okay? If I point Wireshark to my internal wireless adapter here, I will not be able to see management frames. I will not be able to see control frames. I will not have an 802.11 header piped up to me. And I will not have things added to it, including things such as the signal strength and noise level. These fake headers, the PPI header or the radio tap header, they won't be applied. So the purpose of an ARP cap adapter is to capture wireless traffic on a Windows host. I can move through and capture on different channels. I can have multiple of these connected, and I can capture simultaneously. If you're in a Windows environment, you have to have the adapter. You're just not going to live with what the internal adapters can do. Right? Even if your internal adapter can pipe up some management frames, you're not getting your PPI header, you're not getting your radio tap header. You got to get all that stuff. So that's what we do. As far as the future of capture, I am now in Wireshark 1.7.2. Okay? So I've moved over to Wireshark 1.7.2. This is the development version of Wireshark. It is probably 2 months out from being finalized. When it releases, it will come out as 1.8.0. You'll see as I work with it, there are going to be some little things like down here we have some display issues on the status bar. There's things like this that still need to be cleaned up. But on this particular version, if I say I want to see what adapters are available, this is multi-adapter capture. I can simultaneously capture on my wired and my wireless interfaces now. So if I'm going to a location, I have ARP cap adapters. I can be capturing on the wired network and capture all the wireless traffic at the same time, simultaneously. I just check which ones I want to do the capture from and click Start from that point. So that is one of the big changes that's happening. I'm back in 1.6.5 now, back at the regular default. So let's talk about who's at fault when performance totally stinks. Okay. I'm going to go to my default trace file set here, my master set, and I'm going to open up a trace file that I love. This trace file is called http-download-bad. I have used this trace file for quite a while, and it is an XP box that is doing this. So here's the ugly world here. To spot latency issues, you must set up Wireshark so that the time column will show you what you need to find. By default, the time column in Wireshark will tell you when every one of these packets arrive compared to the first one. That's not the way I want it to be set. So I have view, time display format, and second since previous displayed packet is what I have here. I want to see the amount of time in between packets from one packet to the next packet. These first 3 packets here are the handshake, sin, synac, ack. It takes 167 milliseconds round-trip time to talk to that remote server and get a response. Is that fast or slow? It depends, yeah. It depends on where the server is. This server's in Australia. It is dog slow. We go, under the Pacific Link, and then we hit Sydney, Australia, and it's put, 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 because they have pathetic networks in Australia. Anyone here from Australia? See? Isn't that true? You have pathetic. Look at how brave he is. He just raised his hand. People should buy you a beer for what you go through there. Oh my goodness. I work in Canberra all the time, and I'm not kidding you. I will put something on a USB stick and run it across the street rather than try to FTP upload it. It's insane. That's why you guys drink so much, huh? Australians are so nice. I mean, whatever, it'll get done someday. Oh gosh, I love it. Anyway, so yeah, the server here is in Australia. So we have this high round-trip latency time. So you should know what a typical latency time is to get to all your servers. Understand what it is today, because as I mentioned, those infrastructure devices are totally screwing up our networks today. So you got to look at what kind of round-trip times you're getting. This didn't require any processing up by an application. This packet, this SYN packet, was answered by the TCP stack coming back. The port's open or the port's closed, it's going to answer back. The app doesn't have to get involved in this. The app just opens up the socket and then sits there and waits for the commands to eventually come up to it. So we see SYN, SYNAC, we know we've got round-trip latency time, and then the client says ACK. Then the client says, hey, I need to get this information. And for me, I use the OpenOffice app because it's a big fat app to download. And it's sitting in mirrors all over the world. So I went ahead and I just said I want to download that. This ACK comes back 155 milliseconds later. That's just the acknowledgement of the TCP packet, but the server begins sending me the data right here in packet number 6. It's 1.9 milliseconds. That means that when it received my get, it sent out the ACK and immediately followed it by sending out the data. Now, Wireshark's default setting for HTTP communications is wrong. It's wrong. The default setting is incorrect. It says right here that this packet is a TCP segment of a reassembled PDU. That does nothing for you. Anytime Wireshark sees a response packet and it has any data in it at all, it just throws it in this generic description. So I'm going to change the way Wireshark works here. I'm going to right mouse click down in this bottom section here on the TCP header. I'm going to go to Protocol Preferences, and I'm going to turn off the TCP reassembly mechanism. I'm going to turn it off because now I can see response codes up on top, and that's what I always want to be able to see very easily. So I turn that off when I'm analyzing HTTP traffic. But look at that time. That time is great. Wow, the actual data came back immediately after the ACK, so I know that the server is not having delay issues. But this user is complaining about performance. Because I set the time column to show me from the end of one packet to the end of the next packet, I can now sort the time column. Click it twice, go to the first packet, and there are the largest gaps in time in the trace file. That's why the user is complaining. Ouch. 16-second delay, 8-second delay, 4-second delay, 2-second delay, 1-second delay. Notice the pattern. Okay. This is a TCP backoff process that's taking place. There is a problem with TCP causing this. There is something wrong with TCP. Let me show you what it looks like when we have server delay issues. I love this trace file. There are so many things wrong with it. Okay. This is Facebook. This is going to Facebook. Now, if you work for Facebook, I wish you wouldn't fix this. I have so much fun with this. Okay. In essence, we have a client. It's a dual stack client. This client is going out and it does a DNS query for the A record, which is the IPv4 address. And then because it's dual stack, it goes out and looks for an IPv6 address. By the way, all of our systems now that are dual stack, you have just doubled all the DNS traffic on the network. If you don't need that IPv6 stack, get rid of it. Okay? We've got printers coming out now with IPv6 stacks, and they're just blah, 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 all this discovery garbage going on. So the first thing the client does is say, I need the IPv4 address. Then it says, I need the IPv6 address. It doesn't get an IPv6 address. It just gets the IPv4 address. Then it does a SYN. Hello? Anybody working at Facebook today? This was taken 10 blocks away from the Facebook office. Okay? I was 10 blocks away. So my workstation system goes, hello, I'd like to talk to www.facebook.com. No answer. Hello, I'd like to talk to www.facebook.com. A quarter of a second later, oh, hello, yes, you want to talk to us? Holy crud, did my traffic go all the way to Australia and back? I mean, this is almost getting to the point of a satellite link to Facebook. Impressive, but so. Okay, very fancy. Terrible round trip times. What is the problem here? How can it be that, the connection between where I was and Facebook could be so horrible? Then we see the ACK from my client going out, and there's my client saying, hey, you know what? I'd just like to get the main page there. Oh, you would you? 352 milliseconds round trip time. When you see times like that, trace route. Where did you go to get there? Could it be that the ISP that you're connecting through is rerouting all of your traffic in some bizarre loop to get there? No, my trace route only had 2 routers between me and where Facebook's headquarters was. I can't blame this on all these crazy routes I went. This delay had something to do with a router at Facebook, at their location. So they were having a little bit of an issue here. I'll show you how weird this issue is. So they say, oh, ACK, yeah, you want something? Okay, I'm not sure what the main page looks like right now. Let me build it from scratch. 3-second delay between the acknowledgement and finally handing me something that I can show on my screen. That is server latency. That is a problem at the server side. Okay? Anytime you see a big delay between the server saying, oh, I got what you asked for, and it starts sending you data, that's going to be server latency time. So that is one dog-slow server. Not only is it a dog-slow server, but what it's saying is very strange. Strange and funny. Here is the HTTP response from Facebook. Okay, just to let you know, we don't have any privacy policy stuff. You have been duly warned. At packet level, you don't know about it, but still it's there. So we've done that. Cross-site scripting protection, nope, sorry, we don't do that stuff. We do want to set a cookie for you. We've got cookies and milk. All right, so it goes through all this stuff and says, you can't cache this information. I don't want you to cache anything that I tell you about anything at all. And here's our information. There is an interesting item in here. Oh, whoops. Now, I'm only saying this because any of you can get the packets and see the same things. But that's a little bit of the internal structure in the addressing at Facebook's office. Okay? You need to look and see when people go and hit your websites and all, you don't want to see this kind of stuff coming up. Anything that begins with an X is optional. Whether or not you use it is up to you. But, I mean, it's basically giving us one of its internal servers, the server that's feeding up this information. And if I hit the page again and again and again and again, I will end up with a list of all the internal servers. And that, it's just not a good idea. Why would you give that information out? We can't really do much with that. I mean, they're actually pretty solid on their security inside. But here's an ACK that comes back. And look at this. So I said, get me that information. It says, it's slow with the acknowledgement, so we got a path issue. Then, oops, sorry, there's my alarm. Watch how long I go. Then we have this little packet that comes back and says, okay, I've got the information for you. Look at this 6-second delay right there to load the stinking page. Okay, that's hideous. That's hideous performance. All right, so that is Facebook. I didn't have that in the list of ones that I wanted to bring up. Let's talk about how to see who the top talkers are. Good old ESPN. Since 2007, I've been capturing traffic to and from the ESPN website. It is one of the most hideous websites ever made on the face of the earth. I absolutely love it, though, because you can see how disheveled a website can be. When you go to ESPN.com and you want to get the information, it's going to spit down these little tiny components, and you're going to be busy looking at those things, not realizing that it may take you 6 million different TCP connections to build the whole page. It is unbelievable. You've got all these connections taking place. So let's see who the top talkers are. Actually, I'll show you something else. Statistics and flow graph here. I'm going to just go ahead and graph the traffic. This is what it takes to go to ESPN.com. You'll notice you do a DNS query at the top, you connect to a server, when you hit ESPN.com, www.espn.com, it goes, oh, there's nothing here. Kidding. It does a redirection to you to tell you go somewhere else. You go to another location and you start loading up that stuff and it says, oh, by the way, we have an advertiser here. I'd like you to go talk to the advertiser. All this stuff that you see in here, all these sins, suddenly we're going to another IP address and then another IP address, another IP address. I'm going to scroll to the right-hand side. These are all of the servers that you have to hit in the world in order to get the main page loaded, and that's it. It's terrible. All right, I love it. Hey, you can hit chapelu.com and you'll see when I have 404 errors up there and when I mess around with stuff and I always break our sites and people are like, you know, I give everybody such a bad time and your site really stinks. It's like, yeah, I admit it. You know, you got a good trace from us, okay? All right, so ESPN.com, if you want to find out who the top talkers are, just open up a trace file, go to Statistics and Conversations, and there you go. It's going to populate here, and in order to load the main page, it took 63 TCP connections. And I can just sort based on bytes to see who the top talkers, that's the top of all of these that I see in the background, and I can right mouse click and apply a filter based on that communication. There's the communication, and now I want to right mouse click and follow that stream to see what they said. So this is somebody going to BRSSEA video-ak.espn.go.com. This is the file that they asked for, and this is the file coming down. Okay, it's a video FLV format coming down. So that was the one that took up most of the bandwidth. Even though you may not have even watched that video, it might be in just a little tiny window. Very easy to tell who the top talkers are, just Statistics and Conversations. As far as drilling down on, unusual protocols and applications. Okay, I'm going to open up traffic from a host that's been infected. SEC client dying. Okay, you can see right away I've got some of these weird colors showing up that I've added to Wireshark. I'm going to go up under Statistics and Protocol Hierarchy. This is the first thing that we do for security when we're looking at traffic and we think a system might be infected. We look at the Protocol Hierarchy window, and I sure as heck don't want to see Internet Relay Chat. And I don't want to see Trivial File Transfer Protocol. All right? If I want to know what was happening on any one of those, I can right mouse click and apply a filter for that traffic. Here's the IRC traffic. It's really boring. Right mouse click and follow the stream. This is what they said. Okay? So this is an infected host that goes and connects to the Hunted Devils network. What if they're being sly about it and they don't want you to know and they're not going to use the standard IRC port? Yeah, we can still get them. SEC-SIC client. By the way, all the traces I'm opening up are on the Laura's Lab Kit. Everything I'm opening up right here you can download. So right here, I have a client. They believe that they are infected because they are going to attack a Microsoft network. There's the attack portion down below. But I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to select Statistics and Protocol Hierarchy. And this is something you should never see. It's a TCP header, and then there's just some kind of data. And Wireshark doesn't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's just data. You shouldn't see that. Wireshark understands thousands and thousands of applications. There should be some application name in there. Or if your application is using non-standard ports, you can add the port number to Wireshark. So I want to know what that is running there. So I'm going to right mouse click, apply it as a filter based on the selected value. There's this weird stuff. Right mouse click and follow the stream. What is it? It's IRC traffic embedded in a non-standard communications, non-standard port. I want to show you path queuing now. And in the course notes, I have the trace files that show these different things. But this is what it looks like when a device along a path is queuing traffic. Okay? This is a trace file called UDP-mcast stream queued. It's a multicast stream. I'm going to go up to Statistics, and I'm going to do an I/O graph. That I/O graph is the most boring I/O graph in the entire world. Look at that little tiny, I have one little tiny thing, but I'm going to change the interval of the graph. That tells a story. Sorry. This tells me a story. I know that I have queuing along a path now because you have this look of an EKG. This multicast traffic is very steady stream traffic. A great way to test if you have queuing along a path, do a video stream. get a video stream from a video server, start downloading that, and look for this kind of a pattern. You see this very steady stream. The little tiny bumps every once in a while are management frames that go across to see how the stream is running. But then you suddenly see a drop in the throughput, and then instead of just going back up to the regular line, meaning we had packet loss, it goes popping up above the average line. And when it goes down and then pops up above the line, that's queuing. Something was held in a queue in a path. So you want to watch for that kind of stuff. It is very unusual to see this, popping up on a stream. Okay? All right, this next one I'm going to bring up here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to show you the issue with that HTTP download. Okay, we're going to use that IO graph again. So this is HTTP-download-bad. Do I have what? The question is, how I'm doing this, highlighting this butt ugly orange color. They are my butt ugly coloring rules, sorry. Do I have that somewhere in the material for you? When you download the Laura's Lab Kit, you will see me creating these butt ugly coloring rules. I will show you where Wireshark saves them, and then I will show you how to import them into your system. I actually made a set for people to import into their Wireshark systems. It's just a text file you copy over, and all of a sudden you have butt ugly colors too. On a bad network. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at this trace file. This user says, look, working on the network stinks. I try to download stuff. It takes too long. If we go to statistics and IO graph, make sure you widen the graph. Okay. This is just downloading a single file. We see the throughput, the IO go up, and then it just plummets and drops. Well, that shouldn't happen, obviously. Things should be, when you say you want to download a file, you should start getting all your packets down, and things should continuously stream down. In Wireshark, watch this. When I click on one of these high points in the graph, Wireshark takes me, let me get to a, well, this has got so many bad things on it. Okay, so I'm going to click on this high point right there. And in the background, we can see that it's all green. You click on a low point, and it's going to have this black background, red foreground. These things with the black background, red foreground, that's a default coloring rule in Wireshark for TCP problems. Okay? That means there's something wrong at the TCP level, not the app level, but at the TCP level. You go to one of the high points when things look like they're pretty good, and you go to all green. You go to the low point, chances are, if you see that black and red striping taking place, you've got TCP issues. You're not troubleshooting an app. I'm going to go up to a high point, and it's all green. Go to a low point. I've got that black background, red foreground. High point, I can see I'm right next to a low point, though. Okay? And there's a low point in there. But this one right here, it looks like we almost went completely silent. And when I click on that, in the background, you will see this is what the problem is. We have hit a Windows 0 condition. Okay? A Windows 0 condition is death on the network. It is literally somebody saying, la 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 la, I can't hear you, I'm not listening, la 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 la, shut up, la 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 la. Okay? On an XP box, you're going to hit that condition a lot faster than you're ever going to hit that condition on a Windows 7 box. Because a Windows 0 condition indicates that your receive buffer is full. You cannot accept any more data. In the next presentation we're going to be doing, I'm going to talk about a send buffer issue that's fascinating to see. Somebody that just, I don't know, I don't want to work too hard today. I'm a good-looking network device. You can imagine what it might be. I look good. I'm not supposed to be fast. So anyway, all right. But this is a receive buffer issue. This is a receive buffer issue where this client literally is saying, hey, you know what? I have no more buffer space. Stop sending me data. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. You see this line where Wireshark says, TCP window full. This is the straw that will break the camel's back, packet 363. It is the packet that Wireshark says will fill that receiver's buffer space. So let's see what the buffer space is. And if you haven't done this in Wireshark, this is a great feature. I'm going to go to the TCP header, and I'm going to expand it. I'm going to go to the window size, the calculated window size field. That's how much buffer space this host has, the one that's sending this packet. I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to apply this as a column up above. Now, the sizing is all wacky. Let's see if I can get it to resize nicely. There. So there's my calculated window size. And if I go up right before this problem happened, here's my client, 10.0.52.164, acknowledging receipt of some data. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, I have 2,920 bytes of available buffer space. I have a thimble full, or a thimble available to receive data. Each of these packets is 1,460 bytes of data. That means we can accept only 2 more data packets based on that size. So this client is saying basically, okay, I have enough space for 2 more packets of data. Here's packet number 1 with 1,460 bytes of data, and there's packet number 2. At this point, Wireshark says, hey, you know what? This is the packet that's filling the window. And sure enough, the client turns around and goes, I have no space, shut up. In this particular situation, the server we're going to is very sweet. It's very, very patient. It's like that boyfriend or girlfriend we've probably all had. Probably it's more common for boyfriends. You know, when you're in high school and stuff, you always have this guy who's just like so nice. It's okay. No, it's okay. You're 4 hours late. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. No, I understand. No, you can't make it. No, okay. You know, it's this really sweet guy. And that's what this server's like. The server turns around and says, well, how's it looking now? Everything okay? And the client goes, la, 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 go away, I hate you. The server gets more and more patient. Look at the time value on the left-hand side. Server gets more patient and says, well, what about now? It does this keep alive packet. And the client goes, hate you, still hate you. Well, what about now? And it's getting more and more patient as the client sits there and says, no, 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 no. And then all of a sudden the client goes, oh, wait a minute. Really? Oh, you have a car. That changes everything. So all of us, you know, networks all have their own personality. It is so much fun. You learn so much about companies when you go and you listen to their traffic, and you can tell exactly what the personality of the IT team is like. All their little quirkiness and their personalities, and all the apps have their own little personalities, and the protocol stacks do too. I mean, you can see Microsoft's personality, you can see Apple's personality, you can see the Linux environment personality. It's fascinating to look and see what these things do. And this server is just a really sweet, sweet, patient server, and the client is just a little bit uptight. XP is a little uptight here. But we can see suddenly this window update goes across the wire. Now, window update is good. And I had to change Wireshark's default coloring rules to say that it's good, because Wireshark wanted to say it was bad. In the Laura's Lab Kit, you'll see that's one of the things I set right away to say, wait a minute, window update is good. It means that the application came down and took data out of the buffer so the client could say, hey, I have some buffer space. It's a good thing. It's also the only way we can recover from a Windows 0. So this application came down and took a little bit of data out of the buffer space. So the client said, oh, I have 3,760 bytes of data. Wait a minute, wait a minute. And then the application came down and took all the rest of the data out of the buffer. And suddenly another window update went out. And now the data transfer begins again. For those of you in the XP environment, I want you to watch for a Windows 0 condition, because you hit them all day long. Your window size on an XP is 65,535 bytes maximum. That works great on a 10 megabit per second network, downloading chat files and things like that, little small files. It is not appropriate when we go to a gig link and we're downloading larger files. Just is not good. The other thing is that that window gets full when apps do not come down and pick up the data. So don't be watching a porn video while you're doing your virus scan while you're trying to download a big fat file. You will not have, it's like porn plus virus scan. No, don't do that, okay? The problem is you're just not going to have the processing power for the app that's downloading. So local apps will affect the network performance. You won't have the processing power, so your app can't clear stuff out of the buffer. It's so easy to spot when these things happen. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to build an I/O graph, and I'm going to add one thing to it. This is the I/O graph we just looked at. We can see there's a problem down there. And now I'm going to put in a filter, and I'm going to tell Wireshark, I want you to graph TCP analysis flags tell me where we have TCP problems. I'm going to turn on that graph, and I'm going to change the style to FBAR format. Now, what you'll see here, this is a perfect picture. I know I'm not dealing with an app issue first and foremost. The behavior in here, I have a lot of TCP problems. Anytime that red line goes up, the black line will drop. We will see a relationship between the two. So this increase in red and that little decrease. This increase has to do with that sudden decrease. This increase, that little decrease. There is a distinct relationship between the number of TCP analysis flags packets and a decrease in I/O. What are TCP analysis flags? They are previous segment lost. That is the big one. Previous segment lost, retransmissions, fast retransmissions, duplicate acknowledgments. Those are the big uglies right there. Okay? Packet loss will always negatively affect your performance. I don't care what you have read about TCP being able to recover so beautifully, and we've optimized our stacks to do this and that and this and that. There isn't a TCP stack out there today that does not suffer immediately from packet loss. And you can read all the specs, and they'll say, oh, yeah, we recover, and you won't even notice it. That's not true. You will always see a drop when packet loss occurs. It always affects the network performance. Okay? So where does packet loss occur? 99.99999999999% of the time, it occurs at an infrastructure device. It's going to be a switch. It's going to be a router. It's going to be a firewall. It's going to be a load balancer. It's going to be something that makes a forwarding decision on that packet somehow. We rarely see a server sit there and go, well, here's the first packet. No, I'm not going to give you the second one. Okay, here's the third. No, I'm not going to give you the fourth. We just don't see that. That's just bizarre. Or we haven't seen it, since 1992 or something like that. I mean, that's just unusual, okay? So we have all these checks and balances that do not allow that to happen. All right, let's see. I am now going to show you the trace file that you have on the LoRa's lab kit, when you download the LoRa's lab kit. Now, I don't want to give you the whole entire answer, because on the LoRa's lab kit, I set up the scenario, tell you, go ahead, take a look at these trace files to see if you can figure out what's going on, and then start the video again, and I'll give you the answer and walk you through it. But this is an example of an extreme situation, and this is what I see all over the place. You can see that we have a window full condition. I have an orange there. The orange up above is to detect anybody doing anything with a .exe or a zip file or those kinds of things. All right, so I can see that I have a SYN, SYNAC, ACK. I'm looking here. There's a GET request coming from a client. So a client's making a GET request. I want to see where the biggest delays are in here, because this customer is saying, this is unbelievable. It is taking forever to download stuff from the web server. Time column, I'm going to click on it twice to sort high to low, go to the high, and there are the problems. That is it. Every time that client is supposed to make a GET request out on the cabling system, we see that there's some issue related to window full. There is some issue related to window full. Wireshark believes that each of these GET requests is going to fill the receive buffer at the server. At the server? What kind of a server is that has a receive buffer that's so pathetic it can't take these little tiny GET requests? Well, maybe they're not tiny. If they were any longer than that, they'd be strung over multiple packets, and it would be potentially an attack. But when you get back and you download the LoRa's Lab Kit, I want you to go through that main video of this particular issue. Everyone was screaming at the client, looking at the client going, you did something wrong. You did something wrong. Why are you taking so long before the next GET request? But we see in every single instance here, the client thinks there's something wrong with the server. But the problem lies with the infrastructure. This is that problem that, especially in the Windows environment, especially in the Microsoft Windows environment, we are seeing left and right. Okay, I want to take you to one more trace file. I know that I don't have a ton of time here. But I'm going to go to a trace file where somebody is posting to a server. It's called http-post. No. http-slow post. No. What is it? Yeah, I don't have it on the system. HTTP dash, HTTP dash. It might have been renamed. There's. Oh, I know, but I like my naming convention. Let's see. Oh, it's fault post. Okay. HTTP fault post. So this is somebody going out and trying to post something on a website. You should know how HTTP works, especially if you're living in the world of web, cloud-based computing and all. We use HTTP as one of our primary file transfer tools. You have get. Okay, you want to get something. You have head, which is when you want to get the heading information, the metadata about a site. You have post. You also have a put. You've got these other commands that are available in HTTP communications. You've got proxy when you're connecting to a proxy box. Here's somebody going out, and they're just basically trying to post some information to some location. And I've put in a coloring code for any time I see an HTTP response with an error in it. So I want to, as I'm working with Wireshark, I look for anything that's colored orange. Orange is my butt ugly color. So let's go through and I'm going to show you how I customized Wireshark. In the right-hand side, I'm going to right mouse click where it says Profile. I'm going to make a brand new profile. I'm going to start from scratch with you here and then just call it Newbie. New B. New B. Still must be able to type, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and change the font size. Just by changing the font size, I've altered the preference setting for this profile. So I am going to make a coloring rule looking for any time we have an HTTP response code that's an error of some sort. So here's that forbidden packet. This is the easy and fast way to do this. Let me bring this window up. There's slow ways to do stuff. There's fast ways to do it. Here's my forbidden in this middle detail window. I'm going to right mouse click and say that I want to expand subtrees. I want to see all the pieces and parts here. And there is the status code. Anytime you highlight a field in this middle window, down on the status bar, Wireshark tells you the name of the field. This field is called http.response.code. I'm going to right mouse click and say that I want to colorize this with a filter. I want to build a brand new coloring rule. I'm going to take my coloring rules, clear them completely out. It just made a copy of my previous ones. So I'm back at scratch again. And let me just exit out of here. So start again with a nice clean coloring rule. So I'm going to right mouse click, colorize with filter, build a new coloring rule. Okay, Wireshark puts up the coloring rules window here. When I build a troubleshooting coloring rule, I start with a capital T, security coloring rules, capital S. That way when I bring in a trace file from somebody, I can say look for all the packets colored with an S dash. Those are all the security issues in the trace file. Anything with a T dash is going to be all the troubleshooting issues. So I'm going to call this one HTTP responses, error responses. And I know that anything above a 399 is going to be an error. Anything in the 400 range, 500 range, those are going to be errors. Now, for the background color, I use a butt ugly color. So it will call my attention to the packets. And for me, a butt ugly color is orange. And I'm really sorry if you're wearing an orange shirt. And I'm really sorry that Riverbed owns the Wireshark trademark and their color is orange. That was just a bad mistake there. But I use the color orange to indicate that there's a problem of some sort. Gerald Combs, the creator of Wireshark, has blocked off the color orange for the developers. So they won't make any default coloring rules with orange because I use that for all of my alert colors. This is the only time, this is a window where the only time anyone ever totally got into this thing was Apple. At Apple, they're like, well, I want to change the hue and the saturation. I'm like, just type in the word orange, but I would like it to be a little bit of a dusty orange and sunset. It was like, stop, you guys are killing me. Okay, I'm just going to type in the word orange and hit tab, and Wireshark understands light blue, dark blue, orange, red, green, black, white, etc. And I'm just going to say, okay, I got to give it to them. They have a really good sense of humor now. All right, so I'm just going to say, okay. The last rule is with this current version of Wireshark, and I'm going to take you to the new version in just a moment. You have to move your butt uglies up. Packets are processed in order, so you have to click on this butt ugly and you have to move it up, all the way to the top, above everything else, and then say, okay. Now, when you look at the packets, they'll be colored that way. So now I'm going to use regular expressions to build a security coloring rule, and this will detect anyone trying to download a .exe or a .zip file in an HTTP session. So I'm going to say new, and I'm going to call this s-http.exe or .zip. And here is regular expressions. We say HTTP matches. We use the word matches. Quote, open quote. Backslash dot. We must escape out the dot. It's a special character in regular expressions. Open parenthesis, question mark I, close parenthesis, case insensitive, exe, end quote. Or HTTP matches, and then open parenthesis, backslash, dot, question mark I, close, zip. And the background color for this, because it's security, I usually will put in a variation of the orangish color. So I do this dark orange, which is FF4F00. Okay. I've asked Gerald, I said, can't you put something in there like butt ugly orange 1, butt ugly orange 2, butt ugly orange 3, and maybe we will see that at some point. I'm going to say OK, and then the last thing is, it's sitting at the bottom now, and I'm going to move that butt ugly up. So now if somebody sends me a trace file and they're saying there's some issue, I can easily detect which packets might have a zip or an exe in them. But now I'm going to take you to the new version of Wireshark, because this is going to change the way you work with this. I'll say OK. I'll toggle over to the new version of Wireshark here. Okay. So this is Wireshark version 1.7.2. Anyone can download the development version right now. You can simply go out to the website, go to www.wireshark.org, select Develop, and Latest Builds. Windows 64 platform is what I'm on, and so far today there have been 5 builds of Wireshark. Okay. By the end of today, I'm sure we'll have 30, 40 builds of Wireshark that have been done. Okay. So that's where you can get the latest version. Just when you copy it into a directory, give it a unique directory name, something that says the version you're working with. So this is 1.7.2, and the first thing I want to point you to is in the lower left-hand corner. We have a little button there that's been there in the previous version, but now we have a little, looks like a pencil and a piece of paper, because now I can click there and I can say, this is my note about this trace file. See packet 42, 3, whatever. And I'll say OK. I have saved this trace file in PCAP-NG format, which allows me to add metadata about the trace file. In July, the new LoRa's Lab Kit comes out. It is the security lab kit this year. The files on it will be from infected networks and cybercrime events, competitions. And all of the trace files will have annotations built into them so that you know what's going on, what kind of an attack that is, what coloring rule you should build to detect that. Here's another thing you can do. You can say, OK, I want to go to packet number 42. And when you get there, you can right mouse click and say, I want to add a comment about this packet. This is that interesting packet. Ah, there. And when I say OK, I'll go to one other packet here. Say edit and another one. Okay. Now when I hand trace files over to people, they will have comments embedded inside the trace file. You can expand it at the top there, or you can simply click on the expert button in the bottom left-hand corner and go to packet comments, and there are all the packets that have comments in them. Okay. So that is a big change in Wireshark. So for me, I've got, 600 new trace files that are going out in a few months, and they'll all have comments in them. Here is the last thing I want to show you about the new version that's changing the way we're doing things. You saw me build a regular expression rule. HTTP matches, and then I did a quote, backslash, dot, open parenthesis, question mark, I. Again, you got to learn regular expressions. Or HTTP matches, and then open quote, backslash, dot, parenthesis, question mark, I, zip. Ah. We now have this little save button. I'm going to save this and call it exe or zip. and say OK. And now I have a button right up there that I can just click on, and it will run that against the contents of the trace file and tell me if there's anything that has a .zip or a .exe sitting inside of it. This is a download, and Wireshark is putting the pieces together and says these are all part of the download packets. You can add anything you want up in that area. Right now I'm working on the security profile that I'll be releasing with the new lab kit. So you don't even have to build those. When you import the new security profile from the next lab kit, it'll have them all built up there. And it will be everything. You will be able to detect emails that have executables and attachments. You will see all of the key malicious port numbers. You click one button, and it will show you, OK, you've got malicious ports in this trace file. It's going to be so cool when the new one comes out. All right. My time is up. I'm over my time. And I did want to say, I'm not staying for the question and answer thing tonight because I didn't know about it, and so I have a flight back. But if you have any questions, I didn't know about it. I would have stayed around and sat at a casino machine, a little slot machine, and answered questions. But if you have any questions, you can send me an email, laura@chapelu.com. I know you guys can find me. And hopefully I'll see you in the next session where we'll do some more Wireshark stuff. OK? Thank you, everybody.